And it was one of your, what would have been a.
We're gonna
really
get started
good
in
day
just a
for
minute
you,
for those
right?
online.
Yeah.
What are you
Steve
doing?
actually does pretty good.
I'm teasing folks, that only happens on accidents. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. I'm gonna call this meeting to order at 2:02 PM. Roll call, Steve.
Here.
Lindsay, here. Lana. Here. Era.
Here.
Judy's here. Katie.
Here.
All right. Andy's gone. Guy is sitting in as city staff representative, but he's sitting back there. Hi, guy. All righty, I need a motion to approve the agenda if everybody's had a chance to review it. Steve, second?
Second.
Oh, echoing. Give it to Katie.
Everybody always hesitates and I don't know why.
I know. All in favor, we're good there. I need a motion to approve the minutes from September 29th meeting.
Motion.
Katie, second.
Second.
We'll give that one to Lindsay because I heard it. All right, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna start with public comment. I have a scheduled public comment from the Argo team. So I'm gonna let Rose introduce herself and we have a little handout for everybody.
And I'll add on to her for dinner.
Absolutely, you will. Mayor, you wanna take one and pass?
I'll go first. Okay. Well, hi everyone, I'm Rose. So the handout is going around, but I just wanted to go over shortly about Visit Denver and what they have to offer. And so the reason why I wanted to come in today and talk about it is because we are working right now with the Visit Denver board to come out and view the town and the Mighty Argo project. So this is a great opportunity for me to kind of talk to you guys about what they have to offer and just see if I could potentially get more city involvement. Mighty Argo has been involved with Visit Denver for many years, attending the events and meetings and working closely with their team. To represent Idaho Springs, throughout the partnership, we've seen Visit Denver promote the greater Denver area and surrounding mountain towns. Not only through marketing, events, but also bringing travel writers and media groups up to experience the area firsthand. The kind of exposure really helps put Idaho Springs on the map. But going forward, I'd love to see the city take more of an active role in these efforts. Having official participation from the city would make sure all of Idaho Springs, the downtown attractions, the local businesses, really benefit from the boost in tourism that Visit Denver has to offer. So, yeah.
And to clarify, Rose, Visit Denver is a membership organization.
It is.
So Argo is a member of Visit
Yeah,
Denver.
we've been a member with Visit Denver for almost like.
Since 2016,
for a
since we
long
bought the
time.
Argo.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And just a couple of questions about it. You've been to a couple of their events now.
Yeah.
And do you feel like the other attendees that are coming to these events are also good partners that are
Yeah,
like worth the
so-
membership?
Like I've met tons of publications, lots of like hospitality workers, event coordinators, and also we met one of the city administrators from Golden who is actually very interested in working closely with us to kind of cross pollinate and promote together.
Hmm.
So the Mighty Argo team is meeting with him soon to kind of just pick each other's brains. So, and I know like Visit Denver themselves has expressed to me personally how they would love to see the city of Idaho Springs take more of a role.
And they also do paid advertising as well. And we
Yes.
have in the past, when we were chamber, the chamber had done a Visit Denver
And Argo has participated.
combo ad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Steve?
Do they have a magazine?
Yes, so they have kind of, it's a two-part, like kind of per year that they do. So they do kind of the summer and then they do more of like a fall and winter kind of like magazine ad. So the Argo will be in the new ad that is coming out at the end of this month.
Does Clear Creek Tourism have a voice in this?
Nope.
No, they do not.
No, not currently.
To add on to what Rose was saying about Visit Denver, it's always been, now especially since we're booming and we need our shoulder seasons filled, Argo's always felt as a tourist destination. The Georgetown Loop also participates. I think we're the only couple in the county that actually do.
As far as I know, I think when I spoke to Visit Denver, the only two participating businesses from the county were Argo and.
And since we're the closest mountains to Denver, it really can benefit us to be there day trips, spend an extra night trip. And that's what we're pushing.
And I'm sorry, Rose, can you or anyone in the room, tell me approximately what the, yearly, membership rate would be for a small city our size?
You know, I think what would be really great is when they do come up as a board, which we're very lucky that the whole board wants to come to the city, that maybe we meet with them.
Yeah.
Or the city meets with them and talks about their benefits, because I think it can be as low as $500.
I know they have a municipality partnership
Yeah.
rate, that's different than their business rate.
Okay.
So I know that similar to having chambers participate at Visit Denver,
They're in
I know they
every-
offer a different rate.
They're in every hotel room in downtown Denver, but their digital presence is even bigger.
So
They're
is
at the
that,
airport
is that
convention center.
meeting already scheduled, the Visit Denver coming up, or is that in the works?
We're working on it right now. Obviously, it's lots of people's schedules that we're trying to work with, but we are trying to get them up before it gets too full.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Well, and I did just confirm with Jess, she said that CCCTV is a member of Visit Denver, because I know.
Oh, maybe they are.
Advertising.
I've just never seen them participate.
Now, that would not.
Right, so I haven't seen,
Yeah.
I mean, we have been sporadic in our participation, but
Yeah,
we've just decided now that we need to.
yeah, I think ours has been small ads and it needs to be better and done better, like the assets need to be better,
Yeah.
which is what we're working on.
Well, and I think
so,
collaboratively,
Agreed,
it's,
yeah.
and that's why we're saying, I mean, we're not promoting Visit Denver, but I think
Right.
it's better for the city to be.
I'm sorry, when are
Yeah,
they
just
coming
take a
up
seat,
again?
Michael.
Now, we just signed for the winter edition, so they're next, but you can join anytime and get the digital
So when are they
assets
coming here again?
within the next few
We
weeks.
haven't like
Oh.
scheduled official time with them just because it is a very large board, so we're trying to get everyone to come up all at once, which has never happened.
So if Jess, from CCTV wants to join, that's okay.
Yeah.
for Jess to move.
I can absolutely make sure that everybody knows when they are coming up, just because we do want everyone from the city to meet them and kind of make those connections as well.
Awesome.
So again, if the board wants, definitely when they come up, I'll find out what our municipality rate might be for us to join, just so we can have an understanding of how something like that might cost. And then as we look forward to what collaborative advertising looks like, we can bring those conversations forward as well. I do have another collaborative advertising conversation that we'll have in the director's report as well, but we are getting more requests for splitting the buck on a lot of these bigger advertising, just because it makes more sense if we're coming at it as a collaborative approach versus just one of us doing
Separate
it.
ads don't
Yeah,
cut as much. So I just want to add on two more Argo points.
Sure.
Connor Hall, who's in the governor's cabinet for Office of Economic Development, who's head of outdoor recreation, the $8 billion industry in the state of Colorado. His team and the publisher of Outside Magazine are coming up here Wednesday at 2 p.m. Tim Mock is also sending someone from the DNR up, and they're here to tour the Argo, and Sadie's gonna join us and talk about Idaho Springs. So that's number one. And then number two, we'll be having another fact sheet coming out about the Argo so people can get their questions answered. And you probably all have been, parking is a huge issue and trail closure is a huge issue. And as everyone here knows, Argo has nothing to do with trail closure.
Yeah.
And we just want to get that message out that it's CPW, city.
So to re-clarify for those that don't know, at the end of every year, we have a conversation with Colorado Parks and Wildlife about seasonal closures to the mountain park due to sheep and monitoring winter habitat and impacts. That conversation is currently set for the end of October. I believe the 31st, Mayor, Gary confirmed that conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Gary, if you're in the chat, let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Gary and I talked about that will be on the 31st, and that will be when the city, and the mayor can speak a little bit more to this, but these trail closures are a negotiation conversation between the city of Idaho Springs and Colorado Parks and Wildlife. This has nothing to do with the Argo. It also has nothing to do with Comba or B Camp. It has to do with the city's contractual relationship with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. So just.
Yeah, and I'll make it real quick, but when we received the grant from CPW, it does come with some strings attached. And one of those strings, and I want to be really clear, is that we would discuss the need to preserve winter habitat for the sheep. And the reason why it was worded that way is not every winter is extreme. As you know, there's more than 85% of this county is already not in private hands. So what we were looking at is, do they need, where we have the trails, might it be possible to have a partial closure, say only have certain trails closed? And please keep in mind, these trails were laid out with CPW's consultation to minimize impact on the sheep. So I only bring it up because I in no way want to sound wishy-washy, where one year we may close for a certain number of months and then another year we don't. Or if perhaps this year we have a partial closure of trails. But I think we don't want to put the sheep in a stressed out, lower population kind of a situation with calving. That's not a great calving area. As you know, it's dry. And we committed to not erecting fences and things that might interfere with calves. So we're hoping that we'll be able to negotiate maybe a partial closure. But that is the way the contract is written, is that we will have an annual consultation with each other. It doesn't really say if Idaho Springs will be the deciding factor or if CPW will be the deciding factor. It's that we will essentially negotiate or work it out. That was the spirit of the contract that we signed. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on it.
And we have no control. And I do want to just mention, we do have one more closure that we've requested of the city.
Yes.
And hopefully this will be the last one prior to opening. They're installing the 2.4 mile haul road to connect all the towers, scheduled for October 28th through November 1st. And the word is out that the trails will be closed during that time because there'll be helicopters and haul ropes and everything else, but hopefully that's the last time that we will request a closure. And then one more thing, the parking. We're working with the city every way that we can to get as much parking as we can, and we all get negative comments on parking, and we've done our parking study. It's a public document, and We have our 157 spaces on the place that will be increased once we can build our 3-level parking deck.
And we'll be talking more about parking later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
George
always
can't
public
wait.
comment from the Argo, because we're getting it all the time.
Okay, thanks, Argo, I appreciate it. Anybody else, in public comments? Steve, did you want to mention your little?
Just the Thirst magazine, which is a beverage focused magazine, is doing a story on the Argo, this next issue for November, December. And they are keep beating on the door here trying to get us to advertise in it for that. And I said, we're not interested in advertising, but I will promote it if a town or a group of businesses want to get together and advertise in the Argo issue for ads. It's the sales rep drumming up business.
So I'll get that info from Steve and I'll include it in our follow-up notes. So if people want to do that, we have a couple of those coming our way where we could.
It's the sign that though the attention is focusing around this town and the trails and the Argo project, and it's a good sign.
Awesome. Okay. I'm gonna hammer through our director's report because the end of our director's report is an important conversation. So I'm gonna try to hammer through it. Did everybody get a chance to board members, did you guys have a chance to review it? A couple of things to note in there. I'm really grateful for Happy Llama's partnership. They've been working really hard with me on just getting things ready, and we're gonna share their new print portal that's available towards the end of the meeting. But we are currently developing the Live Local campaign, which is coming alive, pretty exciting. There'll be a page on our website, which has all the businesses and their local discounts. So if you haven't heard from me already, that means I already know what your local discount is. Otherwise, you'll be hearing from me in the next week or two, reaching out to each individual business to ask if they want to promote what their local discount is on the website. And then we'll go ahead and hand out these little local save here things. There'll be decals so that Ira's looking at me like, I haven't seen that before, but it's new. Yeah, I haven't emailed it to you yet. But there'll be little decals that you can put in your window. Something small, again, nothing big, but that will kind of denote that there's a local discount that's offered. And that got advertised in the new resident, will be advertised in the new resident welcome bags.
So, how does the business know who's local?
Well, that's up to the business. I mean, at my shop, for example, if someone asks for a locals discount, I ask to see their ID. Sometimes that means, for me, what does a local mean? Also, that's also up to the business to dictate. You could say Clear Creek County locals. You could say, I give local discounts to if you live in Gilpin or if you live in Clear Creek, because I feel like Gilpin doesn't have a services. So I feel like we are their town. So I give local discounts to people that live in Gilpin as well. I generally just ask. I have a loyalty program, so then if you want a locals discount, you have to be a part of that, where the email then dictates that on my POS screen, but every business I think is different. Like your mugs program is different than a local discount
Our mugs are,
available to purchase, right?
they are, and it's a 1-year membership, and that's completely different. Like we do, yeah. At the barbecue, we do locals discount, we do a 15% hot springs discount, and we also do a military discount for local foods. Yeah, so.
So I think just having a place where that's all listed, and it can be up on our website, you can put as much information or qualifiers in there as you want. So it'll be just listed in a big, well, not in a big list format. It's like a bunch of little squares, similar to how the events are listed on there. There'll be a picture of the business's logo, and then a little thing that says, this business offers 10%. For example, I'll use Spice and Tea. Spice and Tea offers 10% for locals of Clear Creek County and Gilpin County with minimum purchase of $25 or more. 10%. So it says that.
So we offer free copy to local police. I don't know if that makes sense to add in there, or since it's a select group, but we also do the 10% off locals discount. And we don't ask for ID, we just kind of, if they say they're a local, we just give it to them.
And I think that's kind of most of it is a trust kind of a situation. If you say you're a local, I think a lot of the businesses just offer that. So we're putting together that comprehensive list that then on the website, and then it's easy for businesses to tell me if they want an edit, and it's easy to edit. I can go in there and say, edit. We've talked about having a consistent way of saying this will also be the same program that I will promote to the raft companies that say, hey, raft guys, look for this little thing. That means they offer you specifically a raft discount, whether that discount varies from raft to local. We can talk about that per business as we come up to the season. But that way, there's a way to say, hey, one thing instead of having to put everybody on some kind of advertising that's gonna change a piece of paper, just a little decal on your window. This is our last month of the billboard. Argo will be taking over the billboard as of December 1st. So there's that.
Is there any data coming from that?
Billboards are very hard to track on impressions. I will say that we've heard people talk about the billboard, so there's that. But billboards are notoriously challenging to track when it comes to impressions, and how that is actually making any kind of direct impact. There isn't really a way to do that. We're currently diving deep into the fall winter brand launch. Shopping small means more media buy for our package with Fox 31. Right now I've budgeted 10,000. There's a match that's coming from Fox 31 in that program with the gift card match program, meaning if someone buys a $25 gift card, they'll get $50 in value, and that match extra 25 Fox is matching that for us for this gift card program. They spend like Visa gift cards. Merchants don't have to have anything special to accept these gift cards. They spend just like a Visa gift card. And they will say on them, Idaho Springs gift cards, and they spend just like a Visa gift card. So those are coming. You'll find more details about that as we dive into them. There'll be 2 30-second spots and 2 15-second spots, all together 136 spots, as well as digital streaming and a few not digital streaming, and then they're also putting in a Great Day Colorado segment. Believe we'll be doing that on site. Great Day Colorado segment on site, probably right around the holiday shopping, probably right before, aiming to air either the day before Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Day or Friday after Thanksgiving are my targets for when that will air. We're currently having conversations with Fox 31 about which one we get. So, wayfinding grant, we've officially re-kicked off that program, and Triba is hard at work already. I just had a call meeting with them before this meeting, and they would like to do an in-person, preferably at Tommyknockers in the back room if possible because of the AV equipment. They would like to do an in-person hour and a half meeting with all of the identified stakeholders. We went pretty in depth into who would be. Obviously, the board here is welcome to participate. Comba and Argo offering, and this has been revised since my director's report, but having HDR there if possible, having visitor center or somebody from the historical society there if possible, having Clear Creek County Tourism Board Director Jess there if possible. We are going to do a pre-meeting with Colton at the county to talk specifically data analytics with Triba so that they have that information prior to having the roundtable. So we'll be sending out an email to try to get an in-person meeting on the books.
Proposed date, time?
We don't have that yet. That's gonna be all decided via email here in the next. It's gonna depend first on our meeting with Colton and how quickly we can turn around the data. And then, Tribe is gonna be guiding that, I would imagine, on what dates they're available, to come up for that time.
Sadie, I had one thought, and I realize I'm going a little bit off track here, but on the mark with the water wheel and talking about wayfinding, I'm wondering if there's any interest in creating several marks based on branded anchors. And so as we're looking at wayfinding, like cities are often different districts or different colors, or, you know, and so if we had a mark that had the Argo and had a mark that had the hot springs, because I just think it's so important that we take our anchor sites, that really kind of define and help brand our communities. And so having those, it would be the same style, same everything, but we just have different marks that can be used. And then maybe, you know, we have colors represented, or I don't know what that looks like, but I just wanted to throw that out there when we have the wayfinding discussion.
What do you think would be a different example of a different mark for a different part of town, like the gondola for there?
Yeah, so that whole area would have like, it would kind of be like the Argo district, or,
Like
you know, and then the
green,
hot
And
springs
then
and,
the hot springs could be like red. And then
yeah,
you have yellow for downtown.
yeah,
Whatever for the
exactly.
east end of town.
And it helps kind of brand the different areas of town, and so there would be one for the east end, so we would have, again, we could use these marks for our branding, and I think it still stays consistent, and it would be the same look. Obviously, just a different color and a different, instead of the water wheel, it's swapped out for something else. You can keep the mountains in the background. But I think that color coding just really helps kind of organize things in town, and, you know, even if there's a shuttle, you're going to the green district, or, you know, whatever.
Well, I definitely
Um,
think that's part of the kickoff conversation.
Yeah, I figured it would be,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to continue that conversation. So we'll definitely be, looking for everybody, you know, board members, you know, we kind of have, you know, if you want to participate in the wayfinding process, definitely please do. You're not required, well, except for Steve. Steve's required. Everybody else, it's voluntary to participate from the board member standpoint, and then business community as well. If you guys want to participate in this wayfinding conversation and you think it's important to your business, or you have an interest in wayfinding within the community of Idaho Springs, please shoot me an email. Currently, just so you know, who we have at my director's report is not fully updated. So we have, from the Comba team, Gary Moore and Chris Wynn. From the Argo team, we have Mary Jane, Travis, Ethan Mueller, and Carla Cole. City staff, board members that have expressed interest, and then, Jess. I'm still trying to get with Mary Jane. I'm still trying to get with someone with the Historical Society that might be capable and able to participate at that level. So maybe let me
Okay.
know if you have a thought on that. That would be helpful. And then we've already kind of talked to HDR a little bit, and they know that this is happening. And if they have availability to come for the wayfinding meetings, they can, and otherwise.
Toby, if she wants to,
Oh,
for
yeah.
that, because she redid their website, I think she's a member, and I think she said, I'll ask her.
Oh, yeah, ask her. That would be great. If Toby would be interested, that would be wonderful. Yeah, because
And maybe
again, that'd
Dan
be
from
great.
Hot Springs is the only other person I can really.
Yeah, and he's been invited to participate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, just as every
Yeah,
other
yeah.
business has, and so their willingness to is up to them. So that's wayfinding. Dylan and I are actively working on the 250-150 History Colorado grant. We got some feedback after we presented our draft. We have a meeting tomorrow to kind of hammer out the feedback. That grant is due at the end of this month. Pretty excited about that grant. Any questions on that one? Does everybody know that I'm doing that? I think we talked about that.
I think it's great.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're excited about that one. Event planning, trunk or treat is on. We are going to have a very full street on trunk or treat. So that's exciting. I'm glad that both Bojo's and Westbound took down their encroachment, because otherwise I didn't have enough prices. So we have a lot of participation for that. It will be fun. The Halloween decoration contest is up and running. If you have questions on that, let me know. Holiday planning is underway. We're starting to work with CCMRD's new events team and CCCAE on this, so more details to come on how that's all gonna work out. Next, oh, go ahead.
So I know that the local Santa Claus they use for tree lighting and for the hotel thing is asking to be informed if he's gonna be used, so you look in the schedule.
Oh, well, yeah, when we make a donation, I don't think we have a desire to use a different Santa.
He's a good one.
He's a good Santa and he does it based off of a donation in kind, so we make a donation on his behalf to his choice of local charity. So it's been a great deal.
If you want a reindeer, you let me know, I'll try to schedule that too.
I already talked to Bill about the reindeer. So reindeer, yes, they're coming. He has a baby reindeer. He says he'll bring the baby reindeer this year. So
What's the date on that?
that is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is at the end this year, so we're the 29th and 30th. So the 29th will be the tree lighting, caroling on Minor, as well as if Club Hotel wants to participate. I haven't asked Lana yet.
We're always happy.
About having Santa portraits done at Club Hotel, having visiting Santa there. That Saturday, Sunday is our mistletoe market, at the base of the Argo under the big tent, and, a bike parade, all of that. So that's the 29th and 30th. Thanksgiving is late this year.
Virginia, you have space for the big tent this year?
It'll be in the parking lot to the west, or else our other parking lot will be done.
What are you? She keeps telling me yes.
Fingers crossed.
She keeps telling me yes, so I'm just planning as if it is a yes, folks, planning as if it is a yes. One thing to note that I didn't note in my director's report, and I will be going business by business to remind all the businesses, is we have made the decision, there aren't businesses on that side of the street except for me, so we'll call myself one is not enough, that are interested in maintaining and hosting a picnic table to maintain itself. You and me, Tara, two on one block, which is a little awkward. So, kind of what I got from the board's direction was that if I couldn't at least get one per block on the, north side of the street, that we would go ahead and just open to one-way traffic with no activation. So that will start, cleanup will start the 3rd of November. And the street will open to one-way by the 7th of November.
So do you have our block covered, Sadie? The Hanchett block? A picnic table?
Nobody has said yes on the north side of your block.
Lindsay, you're taking everything in.
Yeah, because we rely on that stop and go, grab and go traffic.
Right,
So-
right.
The only block that has had yeses is me and Tara on the.
And how much is it per month?
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
It's nothing. It's just an agreement to manage the snow out of the encroachment area and to make sure that the snow is moved from inside of the little area with the picnic table to the outside
Okay.
of the area with the picnic table on the north side of the street. Tara?
Just random, how much candy do you think I should get for that?
We
Man,
got 3 big bag Costco bags,
I
and
got
that
some Costco bags.
helped, or that was fine last year, I think.
I did 3 big
Mhm.
Costco bags at Spice and Tea. There's 150.
Okay, so at least 3.
Whatever's left over, sleep downstairs.
Yes. And Ira will show you before we leave. Oh, no, we don't have you have the wristbands?
No, not here.
Oh, shoot. We purchased cute little Visit Idaho Springs wristbands to hand out to they're glow in the dark, so when they're trick or treating, they'll be glow in the dark wristbanding.
You have us on your list for trunk or treat?
Hmm?
You have Club Hotel on your list for it?
We do. Mhm.
I will say, as far as the, like having things outside, Georgetown now has a gas fire pit that they keep on for people. I would totally be fine doing outdoor, like if we could figure out some sort of heating element to it, I think people would use it a lot more and I'd be open.
There's actually a s'mores kiosk there, people sell s'mores.
Yeah, so they do a thing, I mean, I don't know if we, and maybe that's just part of the discussion as we move forward with the redevelopment of Minor Street, but if there was heating, I think people would use it like crazy.
I mean, and Steve and I go back and forth on this conversation. When I have a picnic bench outside of the front door of my shop, I see people use it without heating because I'm on the sunny side of the
Yeah,
street. And if
yeah.
it is a sunny day and snowing, there are people sitting there. If it's sunny and not snowing, people are sitting there. The only time people are not sitting there is when it is snowing, blistering, or windy or dark.
It's dark at 4:30 and the time, off time when the traffic comes down the hill, that's our problem. is like,
Yeah.
It's just too cold on the side of the street.
Yeah, and I don't disagree that on the shady side of the street, it is challenging to have any activation there. However, for Tara and I to be the only two spots along the whole block with picnic tables, I just think it looks awkward. So I didn't get any commitment from the middle block and I didn't get any commitment from the 1400 block. So with that, the board's direction was if I didn't get at least one per block to commit, that we would just, that is specifically kind of geared towards Ed. That would mean that we would just be opening to one way with, no planters out, no picnic tables out, parking on both sides of the street. Starting the cleanup the same dates that we already talked about. November 3rd, starting cleanup. By the 7th, open to one way. The dates are still the same. Just no of those little, remember we talked about those little picnic table thingies?
Okay. So none of those?
None of those.
So nothing would be in the street?
Nothing would be in the street.
What about the bike racks?
The bike racks are gonna go up on the bump outs.
So you could have two-way traffic
But they could.
We don't want two-way
if there's
traffic.
no,
We don't want two-way traffic.
there's nothing in the street.
We don't want two-way traffic.
Okay.
We
But
have
you
just-
could if you wanted.
We could if we wanted, however, the majority of us already stated that one-way traffic keeps people going slow, they're also already used to going one way, and we've had it one way for so many seasons.
It's safer for pedestrians, it makes it easier for you to not have to carve the snow right up at the curb, they can park a little bit out. It seemed time tested, it seemed to be successful.
Each winter, it does seem to be a way to keep people going slower for sure down the district. Nope,
Sandy,
yes,
hi, I'm sorry, I don't know how to wave my hand to see if I could ask a question. Is it
No.
okay? Can I ask a question?
of course you can, just so you know, down at the bottom, there's like a little raised hand button, but no biggie, you're always
I
welcome.
I looked and I've looked, but okay. I still can't find it. Okay, just a quick question about, have we got, I'm hoping we made some progress maybe on like keeping lighting in the city through the winter pit kind of thing, so we look festive? We talked
have a-
about it last year and, we were, something about our contract with the lighting people and I don't know, and I was hoping, because it looks so good from the highway.
Yeah, so the permanent lighting was approved on the city buildings from city council, so there will be permanent lighting and lights in Citizens Park. The trees will be lit up in Citizens Park, City
Okay.
Hall will be lit up. CRC Park, little structure will be lit up. What else, Ed? That's it, right? Yeah, those are all the things that will be currently lit up. We did add a small percentage increase to our tree lights. There'll be a few more trees lit up around town. But the permanent lights installed on Minor Street is a current ask in the 26 budget. And that will lead me right into that conversation. The chances of that getting passed are very slim this year.
What about adding lighting to the roundabout on the east end of town where people pull in?
Yeah.
I think it would really just draw people in and be like, this is so cute.
The conversation around that has unfortunately been challenged with the historic preservation or something about, what was the conversation about lighting and putting things on that structure?
We don't have any power over there.
It would have to be solar.
And we put solar panels on it and then that was complained. And we had to remove them.
It's not a historic structure by any.
a representation of a historic structure, I believe was the challenge there.
Can you,
And I'm sorry, was that HPRC that did not want solar?
I don't know.
Thank
I
you.
wasn't into it that much.
It was a cool looking mine building that had.
I remember laughing.
No, we need that.
can we
I agree with
read
Katie.
maybe on the next agenda, or maybe it's
It
not,
should be
but I don't know, but I think that would be something that we would wanna discuss.
Well, that will just not be, that'll be a 26 conversation, so I can
Okay.
definitely add that to our
Yeah, I
26
think that would be-
conversation.
To add lighting anywhere on that side of town.
I will definitely continue, I'll add lighting, all the lighting for 25 is finalized and already being installed. So I can add some conversations about 26's lighting. The bridge is lit. I know that in 26, we're talking about lighting the cross bridges that go across the
I was just gonna
river.
say, that would be
Bridges.
awesome, to light those up too.
Sam, can we find out how much it would cost to light that structure at the east end?
Yeah, I already know how, I mean, Somerset has already, the
But
city
maybe it's not
owns, Carla, to
Somerset,
answer your
maybe.
question, the city owns the roundabout structure. We do already know how much that costs.
How much is it?
I mean, it's nominal. It's not an expensive thing. The problem is that there's no power on the roundabout thing. So it's, as Ed said, we had to install solar panels and there was hoopla about that. So there's currently no lighting on that at all, and that any conversations about lighting will have to hold till 26 because the 25 lighting structure is already in place.
I say just put the solar panels back on.
I do too, yeah. Who complained
Solar
about the
panels are
solar?
Oh, they're gone.
They were at ballpark storage. in
Wait,
Shambles.
Oh,
And just another thing that Dylan just notated for us also is that also the roundabout is technically in CDOT right of way, so there's a conversation about with CDOT about the power as well that needs to go into the roundabout
That's
conversation.
all that up to 314 is Idaho Springs property now.
The roundabout is technically CDOT right of way, according to Dylan. I'm just reading the chat. I do want to keep us on track because I do have a couple important things that I want to make sure we get to, and I hear that lighting is important, and thank you, Margaret, for bringing that up, and it's definitely a part of the conversation. Couple of things to note, the budget conversations, there's a note in the director's report about the budget. I will say that, the mayor has been very clear and it's been a tight year, and because we have spent the year, which is a good thing, forming a foundation. There's not really a lot for me to say to city council, this is how I spent your money, and this is how that money has a return on its investment. And I did get a lot of pushback on that. And a lot of pushback right now in us managing what we have and us figuring out how to manage what we have better. And city council is very focused on making sure that other things are also seeing increases. Where we probably won't see an increase at all. Andy's recommendation actually shows us with a decrease. When I asked for clarification on the decrease recommendation, I didn't really get a clear answer. What I got from Guy and Mayor and Andy through conversations was there's a possibility that council will keep our budget the same. Right now, the recommendation is a decrease of about 21,000. However, the mayor has a lot of solid points as well as others that we might be able to at least pull that to level to keep it the same. Then it would be up to the board to make a decision how to allocate that chunk of money into the categories in which this board operates. Meaning the board would decide how much of the budget would go towards website and marketing, how much of the budget would go towards events, how much of the budget would go towards my salary, how much of the budget, if we want to cut down on, say, paid advertising and the board wants to hire an events contractor, the board can make that decision. So I would then sit with the board, sit with Stephen, executive summary, look at the number that council is giving us, and then I would come back to you guys again with a new allocation of our budget to talk about. And then I would bring that budget back to council for their approval, your approval first. I would then have to go back to council and make sure that they give the green stamp of saying, yes, we're comfortable with you doing that. next budget conversation is the special work session in November, and that will be the next time we have an idea. So that won't be till middle of November.
I have a question. So this budget's like what we have access to and to allocate, is that very much different than what was already there?
Yes.
Because the lighting was already there, the flowers were already there, like the city had that money, it was just. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah.
asking? Kind of like, what's the actual like, yes, we were in like the 200s that we are.
Yeah, so for
using and
20,
Planning with, but was that really additional?
Yeah.
money?
yes, pretty significantly. So for example, 2022, the community promotion budget was 99,000, or in 23, the community promotion budget was only 90,000. In 24, the community promotion budget was only 94,000. So we are, one, just also to note, we have had to move around a bunch of these line items. The community promotion budget does have line items in it, such as how much money is allocated to the visitor center, how much money is allocated to visitor center building maintenance. So when you look at budget on the, these budget numbers are always available in city council packets. You can always look at the city's budget. It's transparent. You can see year-to-date actuals, everything. Our section of it is a little hard to read right now because we have certain line items out of this budget. But for example, in 2023, our line items were probably like out of that 99, maybe we were like 60,000. So it's a pretty significant increase from 60,000 to 200 and some odd thousand. So there was a pretty big jump from 24 to 25.
And may I just for a minute?
Yeah.
I'm not on the board, so I really am here just to answer questions. And this I feel is a good one for me to weigh in on. We are taking a leap of faith as a city because we really don't know what the return on the investment is. We believe it'll be there. And we've gone from a pittance. It really was a very inconsequential amount of money. If you look at the 2023, 2024 numbers, they're so low as to almost not warrant, a venture at all. But we stepped out, we brought on a full-time person to direct this for us. This time has been spent very well developing, I think, a really good marketing plan. And, right down to logos and my hat's off and tremendous compliments to the work that's been done. However, council doesn't have anything to go on right now. It really is just a leap of faith that we hope that they're, normally with marketing, it's multiple dollars back for every dollar you put in. So I would say this time next year is a completely different animal. Because if we can show, for example, maybe we spent $250,000 on the program and we got $750,000 back, then we know we can go out on a limb maybe and spend $400,000, right? But this is the baby step that we've taken just to get this off the ground. I think, and I have every reason to believe this is going to be very successful, but it remains to be proven. So I think council will have much more to go on this time next year, because frankly, we didn't need a lot of help during our busy summer season. We don't have parking for folks that are here anyways. It's just now when things slow down that we can really use the marketing effort. And I think it's gonna pay big dividends by this time next summer, and we'll have some proof. You do understand, of course, when we put these budgets together, we only have control over some items because the voters may have agreed to a 1 cent sales tax for water and sewer improvements. They may have agreed to a 1 cent sales tax on street improvements. And we're locked out of accessing that money. So we've got to utilize funds that are available out of the general fund in this case. And as Sadie was saying, we have a lot of asks, and frankly, there isn't enough money to go as far as we would like. So we're probably going to dip in to the general fund even more. And that's not sustainable long term. I'm saying I'm financially very frugal and responsible. And I bring that up because I think there's way too many things to discount next year. We've got the gondola coming on. We're gonna have another full year with the bike park. We now have a new skateboard park. We're gonna have 119 new housing units. And by the way, I would suggest to you, we're having 119 new housing units without having to add additional people. Is probably going to be the case. That is going to help, say, with our water and sewer. It's more people to share the cost burden with. Plus, the city derives a significant amount of sales tax from online purchases with 119 new places coming online. All of these things, and I'm sure I'm forgetting several, but all of these things are quite large. And it probably is big of a development improvement in our city since the gold rush. It's any one of these things would be a tremendous shot in the arm. And we're having it all come together next year. So I believe next year is going to be a very good year for us financially. And we will have a balance sheet that will allow us to expand on some things. But right now, as we sit here today, we're going to have to take a relatively frugal approach. So if it remains approximately the same, please be understanding. Nobody wants to take that away. And we absolutely want to resist the urge and in a lower revenue year to cut back on marketing. I mean, frankly, if anything, you want to expand a bit in marketing to offset, in our case, the construction impacts on I-70. Thank you.
Yeah, one indicator, there's a bunch of levers to control the sales tax. We are actually up, we're almost any community around us are down.
And I did bring that up.
Yeah, if you look at like Breckenridge and I mean.
And Steve, thank you, because I actually forgot probably the most important, or one of the most important parts of this. Steve was the first person to tell me when I was on council about 5 years ago, we're parked out. And if you see an increase, it might just be because a restaurant or a gift shop had to increase their prices 3 or 4%. So don't let it fool you. And I'm glad that he had brought that up. One thing that we're doing is, and we're gonna get into this a little bit, we're adding parking. You're gonna see 50 more spaces just in the next 2 weeks over across from the police station
Tomorrow.
And, oh, thank you very much. All right.
There we go, tomorrow.
There we go. Because a week ago today, council approved the bill for striping and paving over there. I didn't know it was gonna be that quick. That's excellent. So I'm saying the other biggie is if we put on additional parking, we're no longer parked out, in our busy season and when we have special events. So thank you. That actually was a huge one I wanted to bring up.
And where are you, I know you have the house, the old Machando house, or Begoni house.
Then that's hold up about 16 spaces.
And then what about the future mobility hub?
Well, let's
sorry.
let's not derail ourselves too much in this.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
So I have one quick comment on budget. So we did a project with some students a while back that recommended a roundup program at businesses, and they looked at like what POS systems were being used the most. And I'm just wondering, as far as supplementing funding for this group, could we had talked about doing a countywide program, but I think it might be easier to start at a municipal level and get businesses, restaurants to sign up for this roundup program that would then support our marketing efforts.
There's a couple of different ideas like that. So and this would be once we know what our final budget number is, then I'm gonna come to you guys with some strategic ideas of what else we can do. That's one of them. Another one that might be considered, and this might not be something that we can do right away, but we can look at, buy-in program, again, we're gonna start leveraging the Visit Idaho Springs website. You want to be featured at the top of the website, that's how much this package costs. You want to participate in sponsorship program. Let's say you want to be an event sponsor at this level, this is how much and what it gets you. So these are strategic ideas that we can start proceeding once we know how much council is gonna do and where that gap might be, what we wanna do about it.
I have a question.
Sure.
About the salary that you mentioned in your director's report.
Yeah.
So did you get clarification on like why it's a call out or?
I think Andy and Guy and the mayor wanted to make sure that that was mentioned mainly out of competitiveness. So that salary rate, so if I was to leave this position, the staff feels like it's very important that we be able to recruit someone in this role that's at the same caliber at which I operate at, and raising the salary will meet that market. If we leave the salary where it is right now, it might not be as much as of a competitive range for this role.
I just want to very quickly add, Georgetown managed to get a marketing director for 60 Gs. And that didn't work out too good, right? I mean, in a matter of months, the county put it up for 90 Gs and she left. So,
So
I'm
it's 70, we pay her
just
70.
saying, this is part
Right.
This is part of the problem, if you're looking for somebody to be like head of a department, in this case, director of marketing, I mean, like it or not, we have to be competitive or it's just a revolving door.
And the other part is that range puts you in a position where that's an approachable salary range.
Right, and I agree with that
Right.
entirely. So I guess my question is just like, we could keep our budget the same. But if we become a city employee, which we
I
haven't
have-
talked about.
I have chosen to not offer
Oh, okay.
that option this year. The
Okay.
staff and I have talked about that. We're leaving that off the table for a
Okay.
conversation this year because of the extra cost that would put on the city's budget, because
Got
that
it.
would include a bunch
And
of
that's, I guess, where
extra.
my question was
Yeah.
going, is like, so does that money now come out of our budget if like?
Yeah, so that's a contractor rate right there, so that, however, I did not get additional clarification from Andy. What I got was from the way this board is structured, how we divide out the money that is budgeted for us into which category of bucket
Mhm.
is up to this board. The board can say, yes, we approve it. I then do, however, need to go to city council and say, please give me the green stamp of approval. I will say that there are city council members that if city staff, all city staff does not get raises and I go to them and ask to raise my salary, that I will get significant.
Got it, okay.
And also all of those improvements that I believe are going to really help our revenue next year. I will tell you, at the last city council retreat, one of the top items for city council is getting all of the city wages into the middle of the Colorado Municipal League annually does a salary survey. And there is no reason, when you have a successful city, not to get everybody into the middle. Right now, about the only people that are in the middle are your department heads. So we want to correct that. And I really think that the improvements and money that's generated next year will be able to
Right,
make that happen.
so that call out is a bigger conversation that's being had within the whole city. about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
That
Exactly.
makes sense.
So depending on how this conversation goes forward from the board standpoint, I'm happy to, again, we can reallocate the conversation or reallocate the numbers however the board sees fit. And then I can bring that to city council and make sure they're comfortable.
So
Tara,
this is not fully decided on, there's one more work session.
correct, on the
But
17th.
this was like what was suggested after do you need some more support from us? At all, like going to like,
I do think it's important that city council see that the businesses are very passionate about wanting to make sure that we can at least maintain the level at which that we're operating at, and they understand the why behind it. I think it helps them understand because again, number one, as business owners, we are the fundraising arm of the city, and two, also city council's job is to represent us, as several of you are also residents of this city as well. So I do think it's important, to have support there, as much as. So it's the 17th. I'll definitely keep you guys updated as we go forward. I do want to get to this next part because this is the part that is the part we were going to talk about. At same city council meeting where budget was briefly discussed, we had a conversation around, the downtown master plan, and HDR was there to present essentially the risk management, the risk management survey results, essentially. Is that the best way of saying that? Do you want to come up to the table so I don't have to look so far away?
I would say that we presented on the main couple options that we were looking at and the inherent risks with those options.
So they have, HDR has very kindly put together a short presentation for us to kind of give you guys a concise. I really felt it was important that we got this to the business community as soon as possible before the rumor mill started to have conversations that got away from us all. So, oh, want to introduce yourself?
Everybody, George Prince. I've met a lot of you before, but I'm the project engineer with HDR Engineering, who is leading this program design. And then also, I think online are Charlie Durston and Choni. And
they both are on. So if there's additional questions, we have the HDR team here. The mayor is also here. He's heard this in depth multiple times. I'm going to mainly do the talking just because this is coming from city staff and council. HDR made broad recommendations, and this is council's direction as of right now.
And I just want to thank George for pointing out the cost per parking space.
Oh, we'll get there.
He's actually broke that down. So it's just something to note as we go through these three examples. And at the very end, I've got one comment to make about that.
So this is kind of talking about the achievements to date, summarizing what we have already done. We developed a downtown plan. We worked with CDOT to gain 6.3 million for the mobility hub match. We were applied and awarded the federal RAISE planning grant, which is what we are currently utilizing. So that is what we are currently using to fund all the work that's currently being done. We applied for the federal build capital grant. We did not get that capital grant. By the summer of next year, we will have 60% design for all 6 of the components you see up on the screen, which is a huge thing. That's a great asset for us to have. These are pretty much ready to move to the next step plans that set us up for that whole district looking totally different. It's great for looking for additional funding, for getting cost estimates, for furthering the design. Right now, there's that big number there for you. That is currently the total estimated cost of the entire 6 components of the plan, $40 million. So what we've secured funding for is 2.4 million for the planning grant. Just the mobility hub construction, which to clarify for everybody, the notes, that is just for the bus transit mobility hub section of the project. And if I was not the parking deck, that is just this section right here, number 2. That's just that. Okay. So
Why is there such a big local match then?
that's what was required by CDOT for the 6.3. They required that 6.3 match.
I thought that was part of the parking, I mean,
If we
5
got the-
years
if we got
ago,
the
we're
40
talking 4
million.
million total.
If we had got the 40 million, it would be.
Yeah, if we had gotten the RAISE capital grant, that
Okay.
would have been. However, we did not get awarded that. So this is just the funding that 6.3 million is held and owned by CDOT. They get to decide how that
Yeah.
money is spent. What we'll continue to talk about, that in that how that money was decided to be spent, the city had to contribute a match to that. In that, Well, we'll have
we're
me
gonna-
discuss it.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's some just facts and understanding about the rising costs. You know, really, this is not an Idaho Springs problem. This is an everywhere problem that construction costs have significantly increased. And it is just, it's not an us thing. This is a thing that's happening across the entire world and especially in Colorado. And to be fair, the funding that what's happening at a federal level is trickling down to us in not a kind manner right now. So federal and state level funds are tight. Budget cuts have impacted funding pools pretty significantly. If we were to apply for the future capital grant of the build grant, we have a 5% chance their risk management team is saying of us getting that grant. And probably if that's pretty big number.
Would it be because there's nothing to give or because of something else in our community that makes us ineligible?
It's a Colorado thing. So I'm not just a Colorado thing, but it's a federal grant. And how the federal government is choosing to spend funds, Colorado is not matching the aligned initiatives with what the federal government's initiatives are. This project is now out of alignment with the current administration's goals. Our goals used to be very in aligned with previous administration's goals for this grant. Now this grant falls pretty far outside of aligned goal and vision, and that's dictated by the federal administration and nothing to do with the state and nothing to do with how we do things here.
Sadie, you
You
did.
said that very nicely.
Explaining that.
Thanks, I've sat through these meetings a lot. This is my 5th time or so,
No,
and trying
no.
really hard. Plus, we had a wonderful meeting with HDR where they coached me so wonderfully to talk about this. Because it really is about the fact that really what HDR is saying is they don't recommend we reapply in 26. It's a lot of staff time and it's a lot of cost for us as a city to apply for that grant. That's the staff, that's planning, that's that's a lot of work for very, very, very low chances. Mainly because of administration at this time. So now we're gonna talk about what does that mean. So a couple of things, HDR defined base program versus full program. So when we have all talked about this, the base program is what's gonna solve for the biggest problem, which is parking, right? So the base program has been identified as mobility hub and parking solution. So really what this has done is identified kind of what we could do to fund the base program. So what they have estimated right now with the funds we have on hand, which is 12.6 million, to build the mobility hub and the parking structure would cost an estimation of 17.4 million. It would net us 159 spaces. This is where the mayor is talking about that cost per gained space.
That's the cheapest.
That's the
You're
cheapest.
saying the parking garage is about 5 million?
Oh, more than that.
So, okay, so that includes
This
the grant
includes,
from CDOT, the match from the city, okay.
And there's a qualifier with the cost per gain space. Since we have not negotiated an agreement with CDOT, we have not, concretely got to the bottom of how many spaces are they then expecting for the mobility hub?
because it has always been clear that CDOT is going to expect designated mobility parking.
Right? So anyways, just,
The parking down at Floyd Hill, I haven't seen a single car.
I
And the mobility, I don't know if it's not like open or
Yeah,
used
no.
or what,
but sorry, but
Okay, so-
Police officers park.
So let's just, yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I'll shut up.
No, it's okay. So that's the building a parking structure. The second option down there at the bottom is the mobility hub and parking improvements. Okay? No parking structure. There was a third option that was presented, but it's not viable because in our council and staff's opinion, it sets it up that we would be trapped. Like it's building a deck.
Yeah, it was instead of building a full parking structure, it was just a 2-deck structure. So it was less net spaces by about half, but it still had a heavy cost for building a structure itself, so we just eliminated that one.
And we couldn't go up with
It also
like in the
meant-
Right, so
future.
if we built a 2-deck structure, then that would preclude a 4-deck structure in the future. We couldn't go back and tack on 2 additional floors essentially.
So that one was completely waived. So this one is the 4-deck structure. This is just parking improvements and the mobility hub. Steve?
Is there any study on no mobility center and more parking? Yeah, mine. Yeah.
This is conversations that the mayor, again, what staff has ultimately and council has ultimately, this is, so you gotta go to view, this is what council has asked HDR to proceed with, which is not building a parking structure because of the cost and the risk. Couple of things to talk about that. That 17 million would require the city to bond, which is go into debt pretty significantly to cover that cost. And the mayor's much better at the exact rules of all this, but there's a certain regulation around how much debt ratio a city is allowed to take out. It would essentially max out the city's debt. So if something major happened within the city, like something catastrophic happened with public infrastructure or something, it would put the city's ability to loan themselves more money at risk because they would max themselves out. So it's too high risk of amount of money to put in the city in debt without funding to replace it in an immediate manner. So council, being wise with the choice of not putting the city in that kind of a risk situation, has instructed HDR and staff to proceed with this, which is a mobility hub and reconstruction of the parking in the back lots, including some improvements to Idaho Mall. However, what this starts HDR doing is having really firm conversations with CDOT about the MOU, which is helping us understand how and what restrictions CDOT is going to put on that $6.3 million, how many spaces they're going to require, what that $6.3 million can be spent on. And those conversations, the mayor has said, and this is not me saying, this is the mayor saying this. The mayor has said that those MOU conversations will heavily dictate our next steps. If that MOU conversation puts into a place where it doesn't make sense, then the city is under no obligation to take CDOT's.
Sure, absolutely. And I will add, we're not sitting on our hands. The good news is, we're adding spaces. We're not waiting on federal grants. You know, even a year or two ago, we were somewhat suspect over the federal grant. There's no guarantee. We were gonna have a change in the White House. We didn't know what way it was gonna go. But we did know that the I-70 construction was gonna be disruptive to our businesses. And we also knew that even if we did build a parking garage, it was going to be disruptive to our parking lot. And we would help ourselves out to mitigate that. So we had purchased the old Sunshine Cafe parking lot. Some of you may know it as the old Get Gas building. And thank you, Ed, for bringing this up. So tomorrow we'll be paving. This isn't, like years down the road. This is very, very soon. We're gonna add a reasonable amount of parking. The old Bardoni house, which is back behind Tommy Knockers, we couldn't put 16 spaces on that property. However, it's holding up about 16, just the way that the parking lot curves and not blocking driveways. And you can lay that out with a pretty generous 15 or 16 extra parking spaces if that home was not there. So we did budget for next year for the demolition. Now, HDR has recommended that we hold off until this study is done, this federal study, because it's a historic structure, but it's not in the historic district. So we're hoping to get the green flag we had always planned on turning that down. When we bought it from, John Bardoni for about 250,000, I'm saying that is a really good price per parking space, even when you include demolition costs. In case you're wondering, the old Sunshine Cafe building over there, it's running us about $19,000 a parking space. And that's with the demolition cost and the paving that Ed is saying is going on tomorrow,
How many
So-
spots is that adding again?
about 50. So,
Maybe 48.
oh, okay, 48.
Got
We do have a pole and kind of a relatively central, like, I don't know what you call it.
It's
like
an
a-
annoying placement.
It is an annoying
I can see
place.
it all over.
I will
Gadsby.
agree. And there's like a support, cable going up, but, so we'll have 48, it's pretty significant. We only have 494 pay spots in downtown. So to have 48 more is a very welcome shot in the arm. We do have, 14 recent ones that went in. They're not the cities. They're privately owned, but all of that helps. And, then, like I said, there's about 16 more with the old Bardoni house. I have good news where we talked with the school superintendent about a week ago, and we're letting him know that Interstate Parking, who we contract with, is offering 100% of the proceeds with the school district's parking up there on 103 to go to the school. So,
If
you
they were
know,
to bring that on as paid
Yeah, I was gonna
parking.
say, if we could get CDOT to do the pedestrian bridge and then use that as parking on the weekends,
yes.
that'd be huge.
And as you know, of course, they have Compass Day, so pretty light over there on Friday, of course, virtually nothing Saturday, Sunday. And then, school's out all summer when we really need the parking, they can make some extra dough. And I know there's some credit card fees and things that need to be taken out, but essentially, the kids are keeping, all of the net proceeds out of that. And like the city does a 2/3, we get 2/3, the contractor gets 1/3. So, the fact the school's getting it all, good for them, but I'm saying it also helps us with number of visitors. And lastly, the county commissioners, would like to, talk about the 32 spaces that go untapped at the Health and Wellness Center a few blocks down the street, because nobody's staffed there, right, on the weekends. Again, we really need the parking. And I think that would also help with the bike park as well as downtown. To have 32 more spaces. They actually have like 36, but they use 3 or 4 for parking various activity trailers and things, but there's about 32. So all total, we're closing in on about 180 extra spaces. I share this with you, and I'm gonna make it quick. We're not wasting our time. This $2.4 million that we are actively spending for the design of this. We may dust this off with another administration in a few years. One other thing I'm saying that's building right now, if you've had a friend or relative leave or rent a car out of DIA, they may tell you, what's this? There's an extra $3 per day fee on my rent-a-car. And the reason why that happened is because the state of Colorado has been very paranoid, I guess would be a good word for it, about funding their public transportation. And some cuts may be coming from the feds. Well, they were correct about that. So there's $3 of new fee that just went into effect January 1st, 2025, to assist with public transportation, specifically talking about mobility hubs, by the way. And they don't have that many in the state. They said this is an important one for them. And then lastly, there was Senate Bill 24-230. And that probably went under most people's radar, but that is a fee per barrel of oil. So, unless you're out in Erie, Colorado or someplace, you probably hadn't thought about it. But we would be beneficiaries The rent-a-car fee, I think, in 2027 is projected to bring in $119 million in 1 year. And I think that the oil fee per barrel of Colorado oil is going, it is slightly less, but it's still very significant. So I'm saying the state is having between 150 and $200 million of extra money to spend on transportation issues, which mobility hubs are specifically mentioned. So I only bring this up and that we're not wasting our time, department, because who knows, maybe in a few years, there is some additional CDOT money that opens up. Right now, I know CDOT's a little paranoid about their budget. And that's why we need to hammer out exactly what their 6.3 million can be spent on. Because if it's real restrictive, then we'll shelve it, right? But we're not wasting our time with the design. And that $2.4 million that we were given for the engineering of this, there was no match. So it was a tremendous gift to us. That's something to keep in mind, but please remember that we are actively taking the parking money and we are buying spaces. And just because you don't hear us negotiating with owners, that doesn't mean that we're not. In fact, the way that it works in executive session is what we talk about, if we are negotiating with other property owners, that's to be kept secret. Because what happens is, if it leaks out that the city is trying to acquire a property, very often somebody like a hawk swoops in to try to buy it out from under the city to make a quick profit. And that's the reason why, you know, it may seem like we're not being transparent, but we don't talk about things that are being discussed in executive session. So I just want you to know, the parking money has always been set aside in its own enterprise. And the aim there is to fix the parking problem. So this was not dependent on us getting the construction grant or not. We're still moving forward. That's good news. I want you to know. We're not waiting. It's going to be improved right now.
Yeah, so I think from the sense of like, what I wanted to make sure is clear are the facts. Because we all understand how quickly and easily the rumors in this town can spread into all sorts of conversations. So, you know, as we have conversations with other business owners and other community members, I think key facts that the mayor, you know, pointed out, we are proceeding with acquiring additional parking. And there's things he can't talk about that are still conversations in which the city is actively pursuing solutions to flat surface parking. There's not a parking structure in the near future. However, we will have plans at 60% completion, including NEPA review, which is a really important, tell me what NEPA review.
Environmental hurdle, yeah.
Environmental hurdle that puts us in a position that will make that plan easier to execute. And the fact that NEPA review is paid for in this grant is a huge deal, because that's a huge hurdle to overcome. So these plans can be taken off the shelf at any time when funding or administration changes make it more viable. Anything else I missed?
You covered it great, yeah.
Okay. I do know, you know, I myself know that there'll be some challenging conversations as we move this forward. I just ask that if you guys come across anybody and you're having challenging conversations, please encourage them to talk to me, to talk to the mayor, to talk to city staff. If they have any specific concerns about it or specific questions, HDR is an excellent resource to help, you know, give us education as to why this decision was made. It's not the news any of us wanted. I think we've been wanting and talking about a parking structure as a solution for such a long time that it's challenging to be like, yeah, nope, never mind. So I just want us to know that there are going to be challenged feelings. So on that note, I would like us to think about scheduling a community conversation meeting in November. We haven't had one for the fourth quarter yet. I think it's important to end the year out, talk about what we've done, talk about our plans for 26, talk about this, because we know by that point in time, it will have actively trickled its way into all the corners of conversation. So I made recommendations in the director's report on the dates. So those would be something for Katie to look at. I'm talking about yards on November 6th, and Tommy Knockers on November 20th. They're Thursdays. I picked Thursdays because that was the day we've had them on in the past. There are a decent amount of meetings already in this section of November. The tourism board is having something on the 5th of November. It's also a conversation, is this worth just having one? And do we need to have an East End and a downtown, or do we want to just have one? And
What hotel?
we
I
have,
almost think we just do one,
Yeah,
especially since it's a holiday month and.
Attendance has been dropping unless if you piss everybody off, then they'll wanna show up.
that's, yeah, that's my, my thing is that this is gonna at least raise some feelings, so I would imagine that we will have a decent amount, but we'll see how it
I
goes.
think one is enough, personally, either your place or your club.
Well, if we do club, then we
can
just,
do it time, but it's one place.
one thing to note about club is that if we do club, we will need to have a conversation about food and beverages, because generally how people come to these meetings is by enticing them with food and beverages.
We have a temporary, no, because it was not gonna work for the kind of business that we do on the expense.
Yeah,
We
it's
don't-
cost per
Okay.
credit per club, so club does not have a liquor
You can
license.
do like a piggyback license, right? Off of like in Tommy Knockers, you
Well, like
No.
like right now Carla has a nonprofit one because she's doing a couple of events.
Okay.
You have to apply for it separately.
Yeah, it would,
Huh,
yeah, it would be a special event. And we would need to have a nonprofit partner into that, which is
So,
why,
yeah, not because of my particular situation with the food and beverage. My issue is that if this is information people need to know, shouldn't they, why do we feel like we have to bribe people to come?
it's just a standard thing in this town.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
It's
It's
just
just
not
always their
always,
time too, and it's like, people are
Because of
just
the
getting
time
off
of
work.
day.
Yeah, it's convenient, and so they're like, okay, I don't have to worry about dinner. Let's
It's just
go
more
to
like an
that.
influence, because I'm like, I know if the businesses are donating some food and beverages, or the count, or the city is paying for them.
it's been a combo effect so far. So
Yeah,
far, it's been a
and
combo
so
between
I
the
guess that's where my
sponsoring
question is
business.
just like, if money is a concern that we have, or businesses are tight, they.
Our last meeting that we held at the Tap House, we did not do free drinks, we just did food, and we had a decent amount of people show up,
It
so
was, yeah.
it was a good turnout.
So there's like a
I
nice like
forgot,
middle
yeah,
ground.
because it just wasn't worth it, and we were spending a lot of money on covering drinks.
That's what I
And it
was
didn't
wondering.
matter, people were buying their own drinks, but they were happy to have the food, and so the city covered the cost of the food. And then, we weren't losing anywhere really, so,
Right,
and it was
okay.
we were able to keep the budget at around $300 for food.
Yeah, we did
So,
well.
and that, in fact, we had more than enough food last time too, everybody took food home.
Awesome, and it's
So-
too late to do a special event permit.
So I would be more than happy to hold it there again on the 6th, we have nothing going on that day, so once we get later into the month, we start having holiday parties and like. Last year we had weddings already and all the things for December, early December, we had a couple wedding parties because they rent out those hotels.
What's the capacity at the Tap House?
70?
And we definitely have maxed it out there
Yeah.
before.
We've gone over
Yeah.
70.
We've definitely gone over it before, as we have at Tommy Knockers as well,
That was
so.
our first meeting though, the
Yeah.
very first meeting
Yeah,
there,
I
it was
remember that.
so packed, it was like, oh, but ever since then, it's kind of, the first 2 meetings were really packed and then it kind of has died down. I think our second one, we had like maybe 40 people show up, but the last one we had over 50, so it was pretty packed in there.
So I mean, we've ranged in attendance from like, I think the first 2 rounds, we had, upwards of 150 to so, at each, so ranging where I think the slowest meeting we had was probably 35.
Well, I would suggest not doing it on the 6th, if it's the day
Hey,
after. So,
Sadie, it's Carla.
Hi, Carla.
Hey, we have, and I'd have to track back to this, but the initial special events permit that CCCAE put in for was November 13th and November 15th. And if we needed to use one of those, I can't remember we don't have a very specific thing planned. One of those was probably a movie night. One of them was probably something else. So we could potentially use that. And I know we just had that conversation about liquor and stuff, but if we wanted to do that potentially at the club, maybe we could transition one of those to one of those days. You and I would need to just look at it and make sure we have the paperwork all put in there.
Okay. Carly and I could explore that. I will say that the 13th is a Thursday, but I will not be here. I'm out on the 13th of November.
Yeah.
So that probably will.
Then we also had December 2nd and December 4th. I'd have to look at why we were looking at those. One of those might have been
Early December isn't terrible, I think. I feel like.
December 2nd is a Tuesday. And you said December 2nd and what?
the 4th.
That's the Tuesday, Thursday of the first week of December. If
Mhm.
that to the board better, and I could work with CCCAE, and that would be able to, we would be able to bring in food and bev.
Say December 4th, I have a DAC meeting on the Tuesday, but that Thursday, since we've been doing Thursdays.
You have food at the council meeting.
My only concern is just not doing it on the 6th, if we can
Yeah.
avoid that.
Yeah.
Is my only, but, and I don't need to host. I was just more asking the question about the food and beverage from just like a monetary standpoint.
Yeah, it's just been the
Over there?
main way in which we
Oh,
entice
yeah.
people. It's just pretty standard of how we get them here.
Yeah, and then I'm always like, if we have to entice them, like, should they want to come and know about these things? Or are you saying they just, are you saying they just complain otherwise?
Well, to your point.
Otherwise, they just complain outside of the meeting.
We've been doing them at places that have food, so it's kind of weird to go to a place and not offer, at least, if they're gonna buy it, bring it in.
I just like I live in the city of Arvada, they don't offer food and beverage at any kind of community.
It's also a way for us to, again, we're engaging. This is a way for us to connect and a way for us to kind of offer a connection meeting in that way.
Yeah.
It's just been something that's been coming up.
It's cultural.
It's.
I mean, if we
Yeah.
were to work together with our businesses, like the deli would do a sandwich platter and through smoking yards or Tommy, and we could just bring a
Well,
variety of stuff.
And having a place that doesn't offer food and beverage, you de-emphasize it. So it's, like you're saying, it's not a big deal if you go to a place like a meeting room, you don't expect to get food and beverage in a meeting room, but if you go to a restaurant, or a bar, you expect to get food and beverage.
What if we did like a taste of, I know we've kind of done things like that in the past, but like every restaurant that wants to participate just brings something and serves
There
it.
you go, combine your taste of,
Yeah.
it work out good for you.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm down for whatever the board wants to do. I just think it's really important to host one before the end of the year. That's my conversation. So on that note, before we get to, that's on the action items, I do want to bring Ira up from Happy Llama, who's been so patient. Come on up, I'll pull up our portal-y thingy so you guys can take a peek at it. We've been hard at work. There will be more things added to this. This is just where we're at so far. The components of the shop local component of this will be up soon. But here is the Idaho Springs branded print portal. And a couple of things that we want to notate. For example, let's look at this notebook as an example. You can see here on the quantity, the minimum order quantity is 50. Which is kind of high, which is fair and totally fine.
I just want one.
I know, that's one. So what we've been able to work with Ira on is being able to collab order. Meaning that multiple, say, I know maybe the notebook doesn't count for you, but I'm just gonna use this example. Yards, Tommyknockers, and Marigolds all want the notebook. One business could order it under the 50 quantity. And then in the notes section here, which when you skip past this, there'll be a notes section. Notate this is a combined order between this business, and this business, Ira and his team will then reach out and send separate invoices. So everybody can then pay separately and fuel it all through that to make sure we're getting the quantity discounts to get us the best price point. So that's kind of a really nice feature that they're doing just for us. Like, this is not something that creates more work on their end. Right? We appreciate their willingness to do that because, again, some of these minimum orders for some businesses might be cost prohibitive. So we want to make sure. So we have tote bags, notebooks, playing cards, t-shirts, hats.
When does it go live?
That is up to you guys when it goes live.
Is it ready?
It's ready.
Let's do it. Get ready for Christmas.
Are we ready?
I thought there was a vote at the end of this, and as soon as we have a vote of yay, then we can have it ready by tomorrow.
Yes.
The quick highlight with the quantities is this isn't meant to be, I mean, we're working with Top Knockers on a direct to public site where they can go in and order one shirt at a time. This is meant to be a wholesale retail site for the town. Again, working with Sadie, you can spend, I don't know, actually, I don't know how much you spent, but you put a lot of effort into creating a marketing campaign with brand guidelines, with approved pictures and things like that. So what we're trying to do is partner with you as a community to make sure those brand standards are represented in what is a public merchandise line. So even the playing cards, all of the images are approved as city representative images. So it's not somebody going and doing a playing deck of cards with an outhouse and thinking it's funny and the city goes, oh, we don't want that as our town image. So this is, again, just trying to partner with you as a community to put together a merchandise line that you can then sell to the public. And so the other part of that is, if you go and you look at the top there, it says the price point is 1,000 to 13,000. We don't want that to be misleading. That is a total for anywhere between 72 and 500 shirts. So your t-shirt cost is under or is around $9 each. The idea is that you're able to take a $9 shirt and sell it at 25 or 30, depending on what it is. These are all meant to have room for margin for you guys in profit spaces. And so the other part that I'll highlight on this page right here is if you click on 72, it has a suggested size breakdown. You can go into the notes section and there it says custom size breakdown. So if you want 72 shirts that you know that your demographic runs smaller or runs larger, that suggested size breakdown doesn't have to be the end all be all. Everything on this site is fully customizable by size breakdowns, by orders. As Sadie said, you can order 72 shirts and get 3 businesses to go together. What you'll do is the top of this site, once it's approved, as early as tomorrow, on that front page, it will have coupon codes. So it will say ISCO batch order. And then you enter that at checkout and you don't have to pay with a credit card or anything like that. There'll be a separate coupon code. If it was just one order, you still don't have to pay. At checkout, you'll get an order confirmation and then invoice once the product's delivered. So just a couple of thoughts.
So is there any opportunity for co-branding?
Yes. So this is the next step of this. So first step, get the print portal up. Second step is once we get co-branding requests, which I know we'll get, Ira is going to be helping manage that process. So he's going to be the first pass through, is that if someone wants to co-brand something, Ira and Happy Llama are going to help manage that conversation. And then Ira's going to bring those things to me and I will bring them to you if I think they are outside the bounds of what we have established as our guidelines. But that way we can keep all the licensing locked in. But Ira will be able to, again, on the homepage, it will say, hey, interested in co-branding, contact. They'll reach out. Ira will go through an initial conversation. He's done deep dives into our brand handbook. He's spent a lot of time talking with me about brand standards and brand review. He'll have the conversation. Then he'll start maybe an initial design. It will end up in my inbox and I will be like, hey, that meets all of our goals, all of our standards, green check mark. And away we go. If we're hitting something that I might be like, not so sure, I will be bringing that to the board to be like, hey board, what do you think about this idea? This is a little outside of our box or outside of our guidelines. But I think most of our businesses asking for co-branding will be an easy process that Ira will be able to manage within his understanding of the brand, that he's done a really great job helping us bring to tangible, physical things.
Are these, so did
I
Nate?
have to go. I
Yeah.
have parent teacher conferences.
Hey,
Yeah,
Katie,
so-
before you go, can I just get a general, like, if you're comfy with us launching
Yes,
this?
absolutely.
And then are you comfortable with us scheduling a community conversation? And if it happens to be at your place, I'll just work you directly.
A Thursday night would be clutch.
Okay,
Every other night of the week, it's kind of, you got stuff going on. So,
Yeah.
but Thursday nights work the best.
so, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for.
Thank you.
So those kind of go through all that, Ira.
This, in addition to co-branding, I think the other thing is that this is a starting site. So any other items and new ideas would go through that same filter process. So if you know something that's trendy, something you absolutely want to see in your store, come to us with that. I say confidently, we can produce just about anything out there. We have custom size fanny packs that are insulated for coolers and brands. And so it doesn't have to be something you've seen out there. We again would work through Sadie to make sure it fits the approval. Trending right now is little mini shot glasses that look like Yeti mugs, with little straws on them and things. So as things trend, we just want to be here again to support whatever is going to make you guys most successful in that capacity.
Right. Also, we're putting things along there that from like the board's perspective, we're looking at things that are in alignment with like our shop local campaign, like, you know, we got the totes on there, you know, it's worth the board having a discussion if we want to do a drive to get that minimum order and say, do we want to get commitments from every business to say, hey, I want 10 of the Idaho Springs or 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever. And we can get a big order of the Idaho Springs tote bags that then are all around town by the shopping weekend after Thanksgiving. Those kind of things. Again, super almost ready to go, just needs your guys' vote to say yes. It's ready to go and then.
Motion?
Sadie,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm not quite sure. I wanted to bring up, we need to be thinking about, well, the bicentennial coming up or the 250, whatever, coming up next year.
Yeah, well, the 150, 250 is a required to brand anything 150 or 250 with the state of Colorado. We will be applying for that grant and that ability to co-brand, but that is heavily regulated by the CTO. And we have already started those conversations with CTO. And we will be able to offer, hopefully, if we get, I mean, I don't anticipate us
Yeah,
not
right.
accepted for every other 150, 250 opportunity so far. But that will be required to be working with the CTO on that because they're very, 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 very strict on their brand standards. However, yes, it is on my task list and I'm
Okay, well, it just jumped out, just came to me. Okay, thank you.
yes. And then Gary in the comments mentions Comba and Friends of V Camp. And yes, Gary as Comba and Ira and I have actually, Gary, this is a fall down on I've already told Ira that I would be sending an email introducing the two of you, and I have not done that yet, so I will. And that will get you, Gary, connected in with Ira so that we can start the co-branding initiatives for Comba and V Camp specifically. To get some of those things like the socks and the t-shirts and all of those things available as well.
Is there anything about competition between stores or anything, like, what's that called, exclusivity or?
There isn't anything about that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we haven't. I mean, again, I think the brand is the city's brand as a whole, and we're not gonna like pigeonhole it and say only certain shops can, I think it's gonna be up to each shop owner to decide what might fit within my shop versus what might not fit within my shop. So like, like for my tea shop, like we don't even have the mug up there yet. We will when we find the right. We're still working on which one we think is the best to be in alignment with the brand, but when we get there, then I'll probably order a mug because that makes sense for my shop. However, nothing else up there makes sense for my shop, maybe the tote.
And within that, just to highlight, we are a Golden-based company. So I do highlight that most of what is on that site will be produced right here in Colorado. We've talked with several other tourism groups and things that suddenly they realize that things were coming from overseas and they don't know it till it gets caught in customs and they miss an event or something like that. So I do want to highlight that this is all Colorado-based production. Some of the promotional items as we get further down, there's not machines in Colorado that produce some of these items, so it's not exclusive, but anything that can be, will be. The nice benefit of that is our standard term is well. So from the time we get approval on an order, delivery will typically be within 2 weeks. We will deliver straight here on batch orders. We will deliver 2 separate locations. So trying to make it as convenient as possible. And then also do want to plug that obviously this is city branded collateral. The city, I don't believe, has any restrictions on what you put your business name logo on. Ideally, in the long run, we want to become a bigger collaborative partner. So work with you, come up and meet with you to create what would be your individual business merchandise lines as well, or
I
staff.
still need to
wear.
meet with you.
And I stopped in the other day to
Yes, I
say
heard
hi,
that.
but as I say, just, we are here and I do want to come meet with each of you individually. So we're not just sitting up here as we're doing this part and this is where we stop. We want to commit to being part of this community. As you guys alluded here, we're very excited about this. I think this town is really moving forward a lot further and has a lot more ambition than a lot of communities that we're working with out there. So yeah.
Well, another thing to mention is Ira is doing all of our marketing printing as well. So, you know, they printed our banners that went on the barriers. Our 4th of July, no, we didn't do 4th of July, they messed up the 4th of July one. That was how I got to you, I was like,
You're daily on that.
I was like, that one was the one where I was like, the new bike rack signs came from Happy Llama. And again, Ed, I think I've already introduced you guys if there's any via email. He also has access to sign stuff that is a lot quicker in turnaround time than what you were speaking of, that there might be ways for Happy Llama to help us when it comes to sign solutions as well as lots of stuff. So
Yeah.
Great.
Promotional items, banners and signage. We do have in-house graphic design, even our metal map signs are produced here in Colorado. So again, come in and try and be as collaborative as we can, but also as a comprehensive provider. We've worked with Mary Jane and Argo for 10+ years now, so we worked with the Historic Society of Idaho Springs. We worked with Vintage Moose for 10+ years, so I mentioned that just because we're not brand new to the community. This is us trying to kind of get in deeper.
What's the best way, I'm thinking of Mountain Made, like, to connect, I feel like.
Yeah, Mountain Made, that'd be great.
Would like,
oh yeah, I think Jordan.
just like.
Yeah.
Or.
Yeah, just use Ira's email and connect him with Jordan. I think that's a great, yeah. One thing that I want to get before we get to the motion items, we have been approached, I know Steve mentioned the thirst ad and I mentioned, and I forgot to mention it before. I just want to wrap us up because we're running over time. We've been approached by the Argo and Westward to talk about the winter guide. The Westward puts out a winter guide that has a ton of impressions, pretty significant high impressions, both digital and print. They have offered a discounted rate to the Argo to participate in the winter guide from a print and digital package. They've offered a discounted rate of $1,300 for a full page ad, normally $1,900. They've also offered the full page print and digital package, which is like the boosted that comes with advertising, where it like also shows as a banner on their Westward app or whatever. Normally that's $2,300. They've offered it to Argo for $1,700. Mary Jane has asked if we as the city would like to participate in a co-branded ad for the winter guide. It would be Mill, not Experience.
Right, with cable car coming soon.
Yeah, just like a small thing that says cable car coming soon, but it would mainly be, it would be kind of similar to the Visit Denver ad we did back in the day, where it would say, you know, it would have co-branded messages of visit the Argo Mill and visit Idaho Springs as a whole, and it would be co-branded with our new branding and have Argo's branding on it. We would design that using our internal design team through Argo and myself, and then we would run that by, the board would see it as a visual before it got approved. We are running on a pretty tight timeline on that. We have to make a decision by the 4th of November with the 5th of November being the creative deadline. It gets published on November 13th.
Does everyone know who Westward is? It's kind of the locals go-to. And Argo will go ahead and we'll do a half page anyway, if the city doesn't wanna, but we got a great deal.
Yeah, it's a
We
pretty.
kind of beat them up pretty badly on the phone.
We did. Yeah, so it's a pretty significant discount. I would recommend if we're gonna go and split it with Argo, that we would consider going for the higher rate, the 1,700, just because we're getting a significant amount more impressions. We're talking about 20,000 impressions, just off of the, digital display. That doesn't include the print.
Is it timing work out to promote the Christmas market?
It would, but that's not an evergreen ad, and this is an evergreen resource. So this resource is the winter guide that lasts from, like, they print it on the 13th, and then it lives as the winter guide stagnant until they produce their spring summer guide. So it's not good for something that's time sensitive. It's more of come up here and experience all that there is in winter.
Just texted me, I guess, tourism is doing an ad in Westward also. for this.
Interesting.
Okay.
So, I don't
I
know if
think
that's something.
should ever not all collaborate.
Yeah.
Well, she said we're getting bids, so,
Huh?
she said we're getting bids.
So
I
maybe you
don't
guys
know.
could
Yeah.
communicate on that and get an even better deal. I think the more co-branded or collaborating we can do, the better.
Yeah.
Especially with anchors and just really, it's about that recognition piece. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, we're like working.
Yeah, I love
putting
that.
together
Also,
the winter
Teresa, she
campaign
could come
now,
to
so
the
we don't have
wayfinding
anything set. It's just more.
Can you
getting
send
out
me
there.
her email
Right. I
address?
think that's what it's tourist for.
And I'll get her off the list.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that we can-
Like if anything, tourism is in the same spread or area as,
Yeah, the product, yeah, we'll have to.
yeah, I know there's logistics,
Lana?
but.
Overall, from you, like, proceed forward and get kind of moving in that direction.
Clear.
Yeah. I know Jean, you walked out, but are you comfortable with me proceeding, getting more information and proceeding with splitting the ad? Okay, cool.
So it become individual businesses also, or just?
No, it would be visit our brand, visit Idaho Springs Dining.
Dining, shopping.
Yeah, dining, shopping,
Historic.
promoting the website. Honestly, I think we would be focused on driving traffic to the Visit Idaho Springs website. I think would kind of be because that's the one thing that we're building, traffic and recognition and brand visibility and all of that.
Like if Tommy Knockers did an ad in something and you guys were gonna do a half page, but a full page obviously is better and it's combined with the
Yeah.
city brand. It's a bigger bang for your buck and it helps us too and.
I also wanna let people know that Argo is doing a new splash page for the cable car that will be, you'll see launch very soon. We'll eventually be blending the mill and the cable car websites together, but right now we're soliciting people to sign up, discounts and stuff, so you'll see that. Doesn't mean that the mill is going away, they're working together.
It will be the experience.
Yes, it will.
Cool. All right. So I have a yes on the Westward, and so we'll move forward with that. And I'll get with Jess and see if there's a way to figure out alignment with that doesn't cross and be weird.
At least not.
And then a couple of things that I need are our action items. I need a motion to approve the Happy Llama print portal to release for the Brent businesses. Steve motion, cool, everybody's excited. Second,
I'll second.
all right, Lindsay second, all in favor? All right, got your yes. Now you can
Excellent.
make it green and send me the new link by tomorrow morning,
Yep.
and then I will get it in the newsletter.
Fantastic.
And we will start pushing it out. And then, motion to approve scheduling the Q4 community conversation meeting. I know we didn't firm up a date, but it sounds like early December is getting some momentum. I'll have conversations offline with CCCAE. It sounds like
I mean,
one,
honestly, it's easier to host at one of the restaurants.
it is.
So.
100%.
Yeah.
What if it doesn't have to be alcohol, we can do a food and beverage event. at some
But
place.
even then, just like coordinating the logistics
Yeah.
of it.
The
I mean,
logistics
unless,
of it
like,
are a
you were like,
zillion.
I don't wanna do this.
No, I'm just trying to make it a one place that everybody wants to go to, because the yards group doesn't come to town and I tell them to go to yards.
I think you got
Let's see.
cross pollination.
I think we got cross pollination last time. I think there were a lot of people at both events that were different people than I hadn't seen before. And if we're gonna do one and we're talking about big town issues, I think if I just promote it enough and talk about that we're going to be having conversations about big town issues, people that want to be involved, whether they're will show up.
That's what I'm saying.
So for logistics sense, from the sense of not burden on me, I would prefer to do it at Tommy Knockers. It's the best room we have for it when it comes to AV and our ability to move forward. It's easiest and most low hanging fruit option. If we want to do that first Thursday in December, if everybody's more comfy with December, because it just seems like a little bit easier than trying to pack another thing in November, that is December 4th. First Thursday in December. Does everyone on the board feel comfy with that?
That day works for me.
At Tommy Knockers.
December 4th?
I think we have an event, Lions Club dinner.
Oh, yeah, we need, yeah. All right, so we could do it on the 11th? Or we could,
Getting too close.
I might get too close.
Yeah.
So then we have the
Or the
20th. That was my
I
original
think 20th.
suggestion, was the 20th of November.
I think that's better.
Yeah.
Before
Okay.
the holiday ramble.
20th of November at TK. All right, so the motion would read, motion to approve scheduling November 20th at TK for the Q4 community conversation. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Lana, do I have a second? Steve? All in favor?
Aye.
Yay, okay. As per always, we seem to not have time for roundtable from businesses, and that's the part I really want us to figure out how to have. Because I do think it's really important for us to talk about our numbers and to talk about what we're experiencing in our stores, especially from a retail perspective.
Mary Jane suggested we start with that.
We start with it. I'm happy to reorder the
I'm wondering
agenda.
if, like with the director's report, if we have to, since we're all reading it before we come in, maybe we don't have to do as deep of a dive on your end, so you don't have to do so much talking.
I'm happy to not do it.
Like you've just hit the bullet points, but we've already read it and then we,
The
we need to
key
discuss
is
something.
How do, I mean, I guess this is a question for the board. I've been trying to do pretty high level when I send out the newsletter and when I send out, I realize that an average business owner is probably not reading my 5-page director's report, cause a lot of words. I, like everybody, loves my words. However, I try to keep it pretty high level. So the newsletter that comes out is also like extraordinary high level. I don't know if you guys have all the board members have seen the newsletter that comes out after these. Maybe, Brian, you're new to this, and I love having new business owners in the room. Is it helpful for you to have more of a high level, like bullet point, like these are important things business leaders, owners in this community should know? Or is it making sure that these go out, the director's reports go out attached.
And it's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda, you can read it. Is it better to have someone read through and make sure all the details are covered live in the meeting, or have?
I think it would be more beneficial for the businesses to get a chance to talk rather than, like something that's going out that you can read on your own.
Wonderful, okay.
Just keep it to bullet points. I think that's great. And then, that way we can focus the discussion around action items and.
Okay.
Well, if there's anything new that wasn't in there, like some additional information.
Like our question came up when you were looking at it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times in the director's report, I will highlight things for you guys to be like, hey, I need guidance. So those would be the areas within that you want me to spend time discussing. Yeah, cool. All right. So then that's what I'll do from the director's report standpoint moving forward. I will count on you guys to read my lovely words and I won't have to go through deep diving so much. And then I will keep the newsletters high level with the director's report attached if people want to get super curious. Yeah, cool. I will totally do that. All right then. Any open floor comments, questions, things before I close? Ed?
I've been thinking about the one lane.
Yes.
and snow plowing.
Yes.
We can do is one lane down the middle, snow plowed. Roll to the north. Good with you guys. North side will melt quicker. And then if you need paths to the street, you guys would shovel those? Or you guys do your own walks, right?
Yep.
All right, should we just see how that goes and then
What are you gonna,
if it doesn't, let me know?
you're not gonna block the parking on the north side though with the snow.
Right.
No, move it down and
Flat.
out of the district.
Down and out.
Normally, there's enough, normally the parking gets cleared out, except for the big dumps, it takes a few days, but, you still somehow manage to open up all the parking, no matter what.
On minor.
Okay, but we don't have to do the bump outs.
It's a pile of snow there.
Yeah, usually the snow gets
So the
piled
pile
on.
can snow
on
between
the
the
bump.
sidewalk and the road. In the, okay,
That's usually what's been done. And there'll be no encroachments in the way.
all right. Well, usually the snow's gonna melt the fastest on the north side of the street.
Mhm.
So a majority of it is probably gonna wind up being over there on the north side, but.
We
it's
know,
not
Steve,
on-
right?
It's not on your side.
It's okay, it melts really fast.
Not all the time.
Very, very rarely do we have large piles of snow on our side of the street.
If we pushed it to the south side, there would be a large pile.
Yes,
On
absolutely.
the-
We would have a
We would prefer
glacier,
that you not do
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would prefer if you're going to push it, that's fine, because it does melt.
Right, and that would be great, and then I can tell the guys, stay away from the curbs. Because the curbs are getting really bad in your guys' section. Don't try to plow through the curbs, because they're just gonna get torn up. Or torn out with the plow.
Yeah. As much as possible. Okay. Plowing, I'm sure we'll have our first snow moving conversation as the snow starts to fall. All right, so I'm going to say the next meeting is on November 17th, 2 p.m. I am adjourning us at 4:01.